Hey guys, welcome back to MCReviews, and this is the second episode of the San Holo Victory EP review. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Hold Fast, featuring Tessa Dalstra, and there's really not that much to say in this second episode. I'll just have intro, the review, a little quick outro, and then it'll be done. This will probably be the shortest one, as I've got the least to say about this song, and I don't have to introduce the EP or do the overall, because that'll be in the next episode. So sit back, enjoy the probably shortest review I've done yet. Of the 3 tracks on this EP, this is the only one that actually features vocals, so it's no surprise to see that this is the main feature of the introduction, though they don't last for very long before the build-up comes in. The vocals themselves are really nice. They have this really airy and echoey sound to them, which adds to the general minimalistic and empty feeling that this intro has. After the vocals we have the build-up, though this song doesn't really build up all that much hype, which is not a bad thing because that's clearly not what this song is going for. The build-up consists of 2 sounds, a melody and a heartbeat. I had never realized this before reviewing this song, but this is actually quite minimalistic in a lot of ways as far as future bass goes. That's honestly a really cool thing, especially with the empty vibe that this song is going for the most part. So then we're into the first drop. And remember how I said with my favourite section of Victory in the first drop, there were 2 main parts or sets of sounds, and if one stopped, the other one must stop as well. Well, this song almost does the opposite of that, and has 2 main parts to the melody, which never overlap in any way, and whenever one stops, the other one will come to take its place, which is really cool. Not as good as what Victory does, but this is still great in its own right. Apart from the 2 sections of the melody, there is bass and occasionally a beat. There is nothing else. This could be a criticism in many other songs, but with the minimalistic and empty vibe that I feel like this song is going for, that does nothing but add to that. The second half of the drop is where some of my first proper criticisms come in. The second half of the drop loses the feeling and tone that the rest of the song had, in favour of a catchier, upbeat melody-driven section, which isn't always a problem, but it takes away what made this song interesting, and not just another San Holo future bass track. Don't get me wrong, what's happening here does sound good, but it's not what I want to listen to Hold Fast for. The mid-section is pretty much the same as the intro. I've got almost nothing to say on it, I think a bit of the singing changes, and apart from maybe a note or 2 changed, the difference is not that noticeable. It's pretty much right onto the second drop, apart from the vocals. Once again, the second drop is pretty much the same as the first, except for when the singular note between the fast melody plays twice instead of once, which is kinda cool, but it's pretty much the only difference. Same with the second section of the drop. Pretty much the same, just with the inclusion of the Bitbird sound on the melody at the start, which is also cool, but it definitely should have changed more than it did. The ending is short but nice. It sounds much like the start of the song, just with some darker sounds in the background to give it a darker and more atmospheric feel, which is cool, but the ending's really short, so there's really not that much for me to say on it. So of all the songs on this EP, I believe Hold Fast is the one that kinda has the most widespread conventional appeal to the average EDM listener, and can appeal to anyone, not just Monster Cat fans. Though it does cool stuff that I believe most would miss, on its bass level, it's simple future bass with catchy and memorable melodies that doesn't do anything too crazy to steer away the average music listener. So before I went in to review this song, I kind of had certain expectations, like you do with anything you've listened to before you try to sit down and write about it. You already have a good idea of how the song goes and what's going to happen in it. But this one until I listened to it in depth, I never really realized some things about it, which is good and bad. The main good one is the whole atmospheric and empty vibe and the more minimalistic side that I was talking about, which I'd never really noticed was much of a thing in this song until I started reviewing it, which is a really good thing. But the bad side to that is I never realized how much the second half of the song was the same as the first, which if you've heard me talk on the podcast before, you know that's not really something I approve of very much, and I really like when songs change it up, and I just don't think this song did as much as it could have done, and I feel like that drags it down a bit because of the lack of variation. Though with all that being said, it's still a very solid track, which does some interesting stuff, but the lack of any major change in the song's second half brings it down from what would probably have been a 7 to a 6 out of 10. So guys, that was my review of Hold Fast, and this draws to a close the end of the second episode of the San Holo Victory EP review. Thank you guys very much for watching. In the next one, I'll be going through Shrooms, which is the last track of this EP, and at the end of that review, I'll be going through the whole EP as a whole and what I think of it as one singular package. So keep your eyes and ears tuned for that one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.